Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher editor of Commercial Construction Renovation magazine. I've got a little halo for my light, but that's okay. This is December of 2020. Deborah Delaney, Associate Vice President of Design and Construction from Mark's Sport Check up in Canada. We appreciate you gracing the cover. And let's see how big this one was. I haven't grabbed this one along. This was 148 pages, and I'm sitting here with my dogs underneath the American flag because I'm from military family, so I'm flying the flag. And those are the pups. The big dog in the middle, he passed last year, Gulliver. And anyway, may rest in peace. He's up there with all our other pups, and I'll probably be seeing him later rather than sooner. But they'll be up there. But he was a great dog. But those are the other pups. They're all rescues, and we love the pups, man. They're all guys, and they're family. So anyway, but it's always nice to see what I was doing 4 years ago, and this was a great looking issue. We went digital in August of 2021, and haven't looked back since. And it's been an amazing ride for all you out there on the wild, wild web, hitting our site, consuming content, looking at everything that we got going on every day. Really appreciate it. And you're all golden in my eyes, and couldn't have gotten to where we are today. And hopefully we'll finish off the year strong with momentum, and maybe go over that 10 million benchmark one of these months. We'll definitely go over 30 million over the year. But all in all, we can't complain. So hopefully everybody's having had a great hump day yesterday. It's Thursday and got TGIF tomorrow. Sizzling hot out down here in the ATL. Went up to meet my septic guy on my lake lot. They've got the pad for my concrete all lifted up, and got the approval for my erosion pipe for my neighbor's drainage to go across my front yard, and it's an 18-inch pipe. We got a little manhole we've got to do a riser on for about 4 feet. We're going to put a nice grate on there. The county was really nice because they probably could have shut me down for another month to do another revision, but the gentleman was really nice. He goes, David, I just need your engineer to put this across on here. We need this on, we just want this stuff on file. Can you get that done for me? And make sure you don't pour on top of that pipe until I come out and see it. I don't want to make you dig it up again. So I was like, don't worry, Ricky, we're going to do it the right way. And I had this guy, his name is Lamar. He's been doing septic tanks for almost 60 years. And he's just a local good old boy, and he knows all these guys. And he met me up there, and he's making sure the leach lines, and we're creating this little berm in the back of the lot. And he's like, it's going to be tight on there. Don't take any of that dirt in there. Leave that for me. And it's just a hoot, man. Some of these guys that I'm dealing with, and they've been around forever. But it is, from a construction point, they are so knowledgeable about everything that they're doing. I mean, the son and the father team that's grading my lot, they did my clearing, they do the grading. Man, they've been awesome, and I've learned so much from them as I've gone. But next week, the setback stakes will come in, the engineer will come out, and then my concrete guy is going to make the box. My electrical and my plumbing guys will come in, and then I put the footings in, get that approved and inspected. Then we do the rebar. They make sure it's the right size, the right width, and then they pour, and they come out, and that's my final inspection. Then my sticks and frames will go up, wrap, roof. So even though I lost some time because of the revisions, getting them done, and then the rain the last couple of weeks, nothing was happening with the fill, the dirt, etc. I could probably get back on track and on schedule. So it's exciting, yeah. But man, every day I go up there, there's just more getting done. But I can't wait for that house to be done for this actual structure, so it's dry, windows in, doors, roof, wrap, and then my wife's team's going to come in there. We're going to crank that house out. So very exciting, and never a dull moment on a construction site. So with that said, I've got a nice gentleman just north of me, up by the Tennessee Georgia border. His name is Terry Lee Eggert, and he's the CEO and founder of Genesis Global. He's been around forever. Terry, say hello to our listeners out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hey, David, thank you for having me on your show. Really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you finding the time because we know you're busy. Terry's in fixtures, millwork, visual merchandising, installation. He's a jack of all trades in that sector. He's been around forever, and he's only 26 though. And all in all, he's a wealth of knowledge, and he's seen everything and anything you can imagine, within the retail segment. And I just thought that it would be great to have Terry on because he's been around and he's seen all the pits and valleys and how retail has transformed itself, over the years. And so, Terry, the way this is going to work, we're going to interview you in three parts. First, you're going to tell us your story, where you grew up, married, kids, etc., military, how you ended up where you are today. And then we'll talk about lessons learned over the last 3 or 4 years of the roller coaster that we've all been on. And I'm sure you've got some good ones in there. And any new things that you see coming down the pipeline. And if you're bullish or bearish as we go into the end of the year, into 2025. And then one positive thought or phrase in your contact info, and then we'll finish up. So with that said, I'm honored to have you on here. The floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Well, thank you. My story is really, really unique. I actually went to high school in 1968 and was a senior in high school. And in February of that year, I turned 18. And one of the largest battles in Vietnam was the Tet Offensive. It was in the end of January. One of the biggest casualties the Vietnam War ever saw was the Tet Offensive. And four high school buddies, we joined the service together, the U.S. Army, and we joined the Army together. We signed up. The Army had a 120-day delay program. They knocked 4 months off of a 3-year term when you joined. And we all joined the service, and we entered the service. Thankfully, all four of us came home. I came home with an honorable medical discharge. And when I came home from the service in 1969, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was 19 years old. I had served. I was not old enough to vote, not old enough to drink. So I was in a different situation. So I started a cabinet company and started a real small, a small little shop in Akron, Ohio, and I was building kitchens, a lot of kitchens, for high-end homes in the area, and I grew that when I was about 20 years old till I started in 1970 with the cabinet business, and I started that with a couple employees, and then I got up to about 3 employees. And around 1973, I was on my way to Youngstown, Ohio to pick up some lumber. And there was a Rolls Royce on the side of the road, broke down. It was raining that day, and I was in my truck. And I pulled over. The guy was real close to the edge of the road. And I pulled over, and I walked up to the window, and I asked if he was okay, and he said he was. And I told him I was going to change his tire for him. He said, no, he said, you're going to catch pneumonia if you do. And I said, sir, I said, I'm not going to leave you out here on this highway close to this road. I said, I'm going to fix your tire for you. And it was a classic, at the time, I didn't know what it was, but it was a classic Rolls Royce 1954 Silver Saloon. It was just beautiful car. I did not have a clue how to change the tire because they had a fender skirt on the back, and it took me a long time to get the trunk open, to get the tire out, get the fender skirt off, figure that out, and the lug system was different. And anyway, I about 45 minutes later, I had the tire changed, and I went up to the window. I was soaking wet, and the guy said, he thanked me profusely, and he handed a crisp $100 bill through the window. And boy, I really thought about taking that money, but I thought, what did I really stop? Did I stop for the money, or did I stop to help this guy? And I said, I stopped to help this guy. And I said, no, sir, I'm not interested in your money. He said, well, what do you do for a living, young man? I said, I have a little cabinet shop. He said, do you have a card? And I said, yeah, I'll get one out of the truck. And I gave him one, and he took off, and I left. 3 weeks go by, and my mom worked for me in the business that time, and she said to me one morning, she called me up in my office. She said, do you owe anybody any money? And I said, no, why? She said, I think the mafia just showed up. And I said, well, why is that? She said, there's a limousine out front, two big guys, they're coming to the building, and a guy in a suit. And I said, uh-oh. And so this guy comes into the building and he asked for me. And my mom says, is Terry Eggert here? And my mom said, well, that depends. He said, on what? She says, is he in trouble? And he said, no, he's not in trouble, but I'd like to speak to him. So I came downstairs and I immediately knew who he was. I said, I see that tire held up for you. And he said, yeah, thanks to you, it did. He said, show me around your shop. So I showed him around my shop, and he had a set of drawings under his arm. And he said, you do some really nice work, son. And I said, well, thank you. And he says, he rolled out these drawings. He said, do you know what a kiosk is? And I had never heard that term back in the 70s. I said, no, I don't know what it means. He said, it's Turkish for freestanding structure. And he said, do you think you could build this? And basically what it was 10 by 16. It looked like a bunch of kitchens all hooked together. And I said, yeah, I can build that. He said, well, I need 100 of these. And I said, oh, hell, I can't build 100 of those. He said, well, why not? I said, I don't have a big enough shop. I only have 5,000 square foot shop. He said, no, you're going to need a bigger shop. And I said, well, who are you? You've never introduced yourself. He said, my name is Edward J. D. Bartola. And he said, I'm the largest mall developer in the world. And you, young man, are going to be my new vendor. And that's how I got in this business. I got in this business by changing a tire. And, you know, Mr. DeBartolo was a really great man. He mentored me. He never loaned me any money, but he made it available where I got paid every couple of weeks. He introduced me to a guy by the name of Sanford Ziff, the founder of Sunglass Hut. And Sanford was from Akron, Ohio, believe it or not. And he moved to Miami, Florida. And before he moved, he came to my shop and he gave me an order for 1,000 kiosks. And I had moved to a 25,000 square foot plant from that 5,000 to that 25,000 square foot plant. And when I moved into that 25,000 square foot plant, Mr. Bartlow brought him into the new shop. And Sanford says, listen, I've got a large order. He says, I have a large order I'd like to give you. And I said, okay. He says, I want 1,000 kiosks. I said, sir, I don't think I can build them in this shop. He said, no, you're going to need a bigger shop. He said, well, that's not the only part of my order. It's more like 3,000 or 4,000 kiosks is what I'm going to need over the next 3 years. So what I ended up doing, I moved my shop to a larger facility, an old Goodyear facility that they had, and we had about 300,000 square foot facility. We ended up having around 265 employees, and we were doing around 35 million a year. I mean, we became the largest kiosk manufacturer, and so that's how I got in this business. And yeah, DeBartolo was the key person for getting me open the doors. He helped me. He mentored me on how to buy real estate, and he helped me when I went and bought a couple of the buildings. And it was
Is
great.
this the DeBartolo that owned the 49ers?
That's his son. That is his son.
Okay, there you go. Okay. I was just making the
Eddie
connection.
DeBartolo owns the San Francisco 49ers. That was his father. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really a beautiful ride. And then I started, in 1990, I had a company that was interested in the facility. They weren't interested in the book of business, but they were interested in the facility and all the people. And the reason they were interested in my business is because we paid people very, very well. We bonused them very, very well. And nobody would ever leave. So I had all the talent. So they wanted me gone. I really didn't like manufacturing that much. I liked the marketing side the best. And I had a marketing company and a manufacturing company at the same time. So we took the book of business, the 35 million with us. They kept the manufacturing business because they were in the furniture business, and they kept my employees in my facility. And it was a match made in heaven, really. And we went out into the marketplace, and we've been representing manufacturers and like service companies for the last 50 years. Helping them grow in their businesses and help them diversify, because we know manufacturing, we can help them on both ends. We know the manufacturing and installation business because we had both. And it really has benefited us in a great degree to communicate with the client and also the retailer.
Always better to give than receive. And timing in
Absolutely.
business is everything. You wonder how many people drove by that Rolls Royce and didn't stop, you
A
know?
lot, a
A
lot.
lot. I mean, it wasn't a nice day, it was a cold. I mean, my wife's from Canton, so I understand, so what time of year was that?
It was like in the fall, and it was raining. It was pouring down rain, like I said, and he was real close to the road, and I was afraid he was going to get hit by a truck. And what he was doing, he was test driving this Rolls, and he was driving it from Medina, Ohio, to Youngstown, and he was test driving it. He was buying it from a friend, or he was thinking about buying it from. I don't know if he ever did or not, but it had a flat tire, and I changed it for him. So it all worked out the way it was supposed to work out, I guess.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah, it
you
was
know,
wonderful. It was I've shared that story many, many times and if you do the right thing, if you always do the right thing, keep your word, help mankind when they're down, or just be kind to them and do what's right. It'll come back to you in spades.
so that's pretty much your story where you're at today. I mean, you start, you did your, first of all, thank you for your service, number one.
And you're welcome. You're
Y-
welcome.
Number two, you came back, you couldn't drink, you couldn't vote, which is ridiculous. If you can go shoot a gun in war, as far as I'm concerned, 18, that's what, you should be able to do that stuff. But anyway, back then, things have changed. And stroke of luck, lousy day in northern Ohio, and you help the guy, and then 3 weeks later he shows up and boom, and you never looked back. That's an amazing story, you know?
Yeah, and it's funny, I've got a few stories like that. Um, I, I, maybe in another session, I'll tell you a story about the Mirage Hotel and the Golden Nugget, or I mean, the Mirage Hotel and Steve Wynn. When I bid a job for him in the 80s, late 80s, when he was building the Mirage. Actually, he was building Mirage in 1980, 86. And my bid was too high, and I was the second highest bid by $700,000. And the company that he awarded the bid to, wasn't performing. And they called me, and they called me and said, look, this gentleman's not performing, and we want to award this job to you. And I said, well, is the lead time the same? He said, yes, the lead time's the same. I said, I can't do it. Number one, I can't do it, not because of the lead time, but because I've got 4 other jobs that
Hmm.
I've taken. And, you know, and the guy asked me, he said, well, how big are those jobs? I said, well, it's not the point. It's only $100,000. He said, yeah, this job's like $1.5 million, $2 million. And he says, you're going to turn down that for, I said, I gave my word on these 4 other jobs. These are good clients. They're, and even though they're small jobs at 100,000, they were first. It's first in, first out kind of a thing. He said, well, look, he says, Steve Wynn, I'm his superintendent, and we want you to do the job. We've checked you out, checked with Mr. DeBartolo. We talked to a lot of people. You do good work. I said, well, you should have chosen me the first time around, even though my price was a little too high.
Yeah.
Uh, but anyway,
You get what
what
you pay
happened?
for. How
Yeah,
about that?
what ended up happening? I had to pass, and the next day, I'm in my office, and my mom says, there's a couple of gentlemen in the lobby. And I said, who is it? He said, it's Steve Wynn. I said, you're kidding me, right? The win in Las Vegas. And he said, yeah. So they actually came to see me, and they offered me the job. And he said, look, you seem like a pretty creative kid. Why don't you offer your clients something, and I'll honor it. So basically, I offered them like 10,000 a piece at the grand opening of the Mirage Hotel. They all agreed, and they pushed their job back, and I took his job, and I was able to perform for his job, and I did the Mirage a good portion of the Mirage Hotel, the lobbies and those areas, and helped them a lot. They brought in some other folks as well because the lead time was too short. I couldn't do it all.
Hmm.
So, but it was a very interesting experience that it taught me a lot. Uh, Keeping your word to your customers and making sure that when you can't be tempted by the almighty buck all the time, you've got to keep your word because those other people, their jobs were just as important as that $1.5 million. Yeah, it was very tempting, but at the same time, you've got to you've got to honor those jobs that come into the company.
Being loyal and just trustworthy and you're a man of your word, some people can learn that, but really you have to be born with that. That's a characteristic that kind of comes in deep inside you. And some people can learn it, but it's just the way that you're brought up and y- so that was in you. That was your DNA. And
Yeah, but the funny thing about that, David, is I have failed many times in my career. I've been in business 54 and a half years. In January, it'll be 55 years. And I have failed a lot, but I don't look at it as failures. Those are stepping stones to success. If you don't try something, you're not going to learn anything. And I have failed on a few clients. And we actually have a clause in our contract that says if we're representing someone, and I did this because when my sons were with me, I told them that we have to have skin in the game with clients that we represent. So if we have a sales quota and we don't hit that sales quota, we'll sell on our nickel for 6 months to a year until the sales quota has been achieved. And that says it all because not too many people are willing to work for free after their sales contract is up and not get paid for it. But if when someone invests in you, you doggone better step up to the plate and get it done. And now if they failed and they're bidding jobs and and there's other issues, I mean, we can't be held accountable. But if we actually have failed in securing that book of business, then that's on us, and we've got to continue that. We've got to give them a return on their investment, do everything we can to help them, and that's what we've done for the last 25 years. We instituted that policy, the GGI pledge, and that's a pledge that we will always honor and we will always keep.
Hey, I always tell people that if you're not pushing hard enough, and you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing hard enough because you're always going to make mistakes. But I always look at wins and losses. Wins are great, losses are great too because you're going to learn from that loss, and down the road, that same team's going to come up, and you're going to prepare a little differently. And you'll have a little more time to get better at your own skills, and hopefully the next time that you have it, you'll be able to achieve that W. But you know, I, I look at wins and losses or mistakes. They're all learning experiences,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
listen, I've made a million mistakes over the years, and some of them I'd love to take back, but you know what? You can't look back because guess what? There's nothing back there except the scoreboard that you can't change. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's
I
history.
mean, look forward. You can't change the history. Well, they try to do the stuff on the internet these days and scrub stuff, but I'm just telling you, the scoreboard is what it is, and you can't change it. Don't look back, just look forward, learn from your mistakes, put them in your knowledge vault for a rainy day when you need it, and you'll be okay. So, um, let's talk about, over the last, 3 or 4 years, we've all been on this roller coaster. I look back at in 2020, I had my biggest event in January of 2020 in Jacksonville. Most people had ever attended. Did my first cocktail party down in Coconut Grove, looking at a shopping center that was getting renovated. And then all of a sudden, I was up in Milwaukee looking for hotels for my executive retreats for the fall. Everything went kaput. No one really. Some people thought it was me a couple weeks, a couple months. Here we are, 3 or 4 years later. We're still talking about whatever. And uh, how did you weather the storm? I mean, what lessons learned out there that our listeners out there in commercial construction coffee talk would find of interest? Because everybody has a different story how they kind of went through it.
Well, I think a lot of us are still going through it, to be honest with you. I think, that when COVID hit, it changed the dynamics of our industry because of the labor pool, because of the government letting people stay home and make $1,200 a week for doing nothing. And we created a lazy environment in our industry. And the tail was wagging the dog, really, and that's really what happened. Unfortunately, it did help a lot of folks because of childcare being so high. My own kids struggle with childcare. It's ridiculously high. It's really unfortunate for these young people that have the day childcare being so expensive. It's like a house payment. I mean, when you
Oh
think
yeah.
about it, people don't understand how expensive it really is. It's a challenge. Um, I think that what happened when all this occurred, it really altered, it definitely affected retail because nobody went shopping. But, I think that even before that, and I'll touch on this just briefly, but there's some other things I want to touch on. Retail really struggled long term uh, when they took the visual merchandising out of the stores. I remember as a young boy when I was growing up, right after Thanksgiving, as a matter of fact, I couldn't wait to go to the stores, the department stores, and see the windows, the visual merchandising that the visual merchandisers would display. And the visual merchandisers kept the store crisp. They kept the merchandising looking well. It was always perfect. It was in place. It was well viewed. Uh, the mannequins they changed the mannequins a lot. And so when a woman walked in, they saw that outfit with the purse and everything, and they said, I want that. That is missing in today's retail. And I really believe that visual merchandising people really need to be back in the store. I think almost a lost art. That category of creativeness needs to be back in the store so the stores are crisp. We're all about price. I get price. I get being competitive, but that atmosphere is very, very important now more than ever before because the buyer got bored with going to the mall. That if you go to a mall, the parking lot is empty except for Christmas time. The rest of the parking lot is totally empty. And those stores, you could shoot a cannonball from one end to the other and not hit anybody in the middle through on a weekend.
Mhm.
And that's saying something. I remember when I used to go to the mall on a week, it was packed. And now it's not. So you've got these new buyers because of e-commerce coming in that are buying things online and they don't need to go to the mall. So what evolved when the gentleman from Les Wexner created Easton in Columbus as a lifestyle center, that first lifestyle center down there, I think that created more of a destination location uh, mall retail environment, and that's what people want to go to. They want to live in those areas. They want to have mixed use areas. That's what's thriving. And I think we need to have more and more of that. I mean, take Macy's, for example. Macy's is not building big department stores anymore. They're building a
Yeah,
smaller
smaller
format.
footprint. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're building a smaller format. And I think, change is occurring in our industry, and we have to be flexible and change with it. That doesn't mean we have to sacrifice quality and everything has to be discount. It means we just have to change with it. More importantly, it's all about healthy relationships. They are the key to the success, uh, you know, and that of your customers. Trust is a huge factor in today's economy. Uh, Truly helping your customer figure out how to reduce cost is key without sacrificing the design or straying from the brand. And, it's funny, but having been in this business for as long as I have been, it's remarkable the number of people in retail, when they lose their jobs, they come to me and say, Terry, do you know who's hiring? And I typically do. And that's from the executive vice president or a president up. I mean, I can turn them on to a lot of folks or a new brand that's out there that might be looking for leadership. And it's an honor for me to help these folks. I owe it to them to help them because they were good vendors for me. They were a vehicle for me. And when I place them somewhere else, they're going to give me another opportunity. It doesn't guarantee me the business. The only thing it guarantees me is an opportunity to earn their business. And I'm no different than anybody else on the planet, except for the fact that I like to, the clients that I represent, they're valuable to me, and I want to go out and earn the business through relationships, you know. So that's why I built my business. Like any business, I think listening is a really key trait, and it's an effective leadership. Listen to your customers, your employees. This will help you make better decisions.
When you,
Um,
when you started your cabinet company, did you have carpentry or millwork? Did you have experience of doing that, or you?
not not zip. I was an artist, and I enjoyed art, but I read some books on cabinet making, and I felt that that would be a good way for me to start building. I hired a few cabinet makers, and away we went. And there was a demand for cabinet making, and kind of learned as I went. And as we got bigger, I spent more time on the marketing side, the operations side, and hired more people. And they did the cabinet building, and I did the operations and the selling and the marketing and everything else. And it was a fantastic learning experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I still have that same passion today at 74 years old that I did when I was 25 years old. I love this industry. There are some great people in this industry. Um, Macy's has been a client of mine for 26 years. I've worked with them. Great people, great company. Couldn't ask for better company to work with. And there's a variety of other companies out there. Hudson Bay and in Canada, and there's just a variety of company that are out there in the marketplace that have value, that will give you the opportunity to earn their business. They can't guarantee the business, but they'll give you the opportunity. And faith, trust, and confidence. That's those three words that I've always used. Faith, trust, and confidence. That's what you want to sell to your customers so that they believe in you. Faith, trust, and confidence in you. And you say what you do. As you become older, you learn from many mistakes that you've made, and you change some of the areas that did not work, and you keep the ones that did work. One of the biggest eye openers was I thought that money was the most important aspect of my business, but it wasn't. It's time. You can always make more money, but you can't make more time.
Nope.
So take care of your family, take care of your customers, your employees and partners, and thank God for every day for them. That's my thought for the day. You know,
What was the coolest project you did over the years that you just thought was awesome? From maybe a creative standpoint or what have you. What do you think your best project was that you did over your 50-year career?
I've done a lot of really creative projects, but I did a project for Brooks Brothers for parodies in an airport, and it had a lot of round fixtures in it, and it was really challenging. But you know, I enjoy the higher end architectural millwork where when someone says that can't be done, those are the best clients to have because anything can be done. It takes craftsmen to figure it out how to get it done and money, but if they really want that design, it can be done. We'll figure it out how to get it done. Um, you know, that would be my message to anyone.
My family was in upholstery, and we were the largest privately held upholstery furniture manufacturer. And my grandfather passed away, and my dad and my uncle took the business over, and they were in their early 20s. And anyway, I had been down to the plant, but what's amazing is the furniture that we built would last for, years and years and years. And now a lot of the furniture manufacturers, it's overseas. It's not even comparable. It's like throwaway furniture. Anyway, my sister's boyfriend, he's in poison ivy removal up in up in the Northeast. Anyway, he was doing a quote and he went around back and on the porch, he was looking at this club chair and he goes, God, that looks familiar. So he lifted it up and there was Corson Furniture Industries, on the thing. So he snapped a picture of it and he sent it to me. And I said, yeah, man, that's what we were known for. Craftsmanship. The stuff is going to last forever. And if you're going to put your name on something, it better be high quality. It's just like my magazine, I put this thing out here. My name's on it. I built it, but I'm not ashamed of anything that I've done. Could it have been thicker? Yeah. Could have been thin, a little less folio? Sure. I don't even know what's going to look like until like today, I'm going to get my proof. I'm going to make some swaps and I'm going to post it. But I kind of know what it is, but I know that it's going to look awesome. Not really worried about the page count. It's still going to be healthy. But when your name's on something, you got to take pride in it and talk the talk, but be able to back it up. And time is precious. Once again, once it's over, it's over. You can't get it back. When the scoreboard says 0-0-0, it's over. So
Absolutely.
you got to make the bet. And the biggest thing is, as you started your cabinet shop, you were smart enough to know that, hey, I can't take this job on. I don't even have the personnel to do it. So you have to be able to delegate as a leader and an owner to be able to trust people that if you train them the right way, like if you're replacing yourself with someone, that they're going to have all the tools and knowledge that not only can they do that job, but they might even end up doing it better than you and that you can maintain on them what's important, which was marketing, the business development, and that kind of stuff. But you knew how everything was done because you built the company from scratch. I've done the same thing. I started out with myself. Listen, I'm an editor, but I give my publisher's column every month to he redlines it, I just say make it sound good because I know he does a better job than me. My English teacher still laughs at me because I can't believe you call yourself an editor. You couldn't even write a 5-paragraph essay in prep school. So I just laugh. Bremen, if you're listening to me out there, look good. I learned something from you. Even though I made mistakes on those 5 paragraphs, reading Macbeth, Oedipus Rex, 1984. I go down to, Lord of the Flies. I read them all. Catcher in the Rye. Anyway,
One of the things you mentioned uh, about stores, there is a store that that came to mind. I should have thought of this right off the bat, but in talking Bloomingdale's, to do a Bloomingdale's today, Bloomingdale's is a premier retail brand, and they used to use, and they still do sometimes, they use this high luster black lacquer finish. And when I talk about finish, I'm talking about Steinway piano finish. And not everybody can do a finish like that. I mean, there are very few people in the country that can do really good black lacquer finish. I mean, you'll see some orange peel in there, but when Bloomingdale's Tony Reese is looking at the finish, by God, it better be right. And so what I'm saying is the level of people that we have that produces that level of finish, KRG Enterprise is one of my clients who is capable of doing that type of level. It has to be perfect, and it's 100% perfect when we produce it. And there are very few people in our country that can do this kind of finishing. They have flatline finishing. Some have just the capabilities of doing that level of craftsmanship because they have that level of craftsman in their facilities. So that's just another store that would be high on my list.
Tony Reese, that's Bernie Reese's son.
I'm sorry?
Tony Reese, that's Bernie Reese's son. Is that
No, it's not Bernie Reese's son.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I ask is I had Bernie on my cover back in 05.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was one of the biggest issues I did. I think it was 270 some odd pages. It was like a wedding catalog, And
Yeah, Bernie was a good guy too. And I will see him probably next week. I'm going to the Macy's golf outing. So
you know what's crazy? I did that issue, and about couple years ago, the family reached out to me and they said, "Hey, my Bernie was on the cover, and it's his birthday coming up, and we're trying to do this. Do you still have the files from that, or is there a in your archives?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I always keep a couple extras, but we have the files. What do you want me to do?" And anyway, we sent it to them, and then after it was over, a month later, I got this really nice note, and they're like, "Oh my God, that was so cool what you did, and this and that," and it just meant a lot. And you know, those things, you just can't create that kind of stuff, and so Federated, on the cover, and in the heyday, and it
Well, it goes back to this, when we talk about relationships. Um, this next gentleman I'm going to share, his name's Tim Stevenson. He was at Macy's for over 25 years. Tim spearheaded all of the fixtures and procurement at Macy's. He was one of the executive vice presidents, and he just retired this past year. He is really missed. I called on them for a long time, and before I got my foot in the door, and I've been with them now for a little over 25 years. Um, when you develop relationships with people like that, um, they came to my son's wedding. You forge relationships that are forever. They're forever relationships, and um, that's what this business is about. It's about relationships. It's not just about the fixtures and the making the money and building things. It's about the relationships and helping people grow. Thinking out, that's going to go to my next question when you ask me the next question, but thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that retired that I really truly miss, and but I get to see them next week, so that's going to be a good thing.
Well, I'm working on a project. I can't really let too much out of the bag here, but it will. We're going to talk about, looking back at retail and some of the heavy hitters that left their mark, and they were influencers, and you'll see that coming up in the magazine here in probably Q4, and it's gonna, everybody does these other ones, 40 under 40, whatever. Nothing against any of that stuff, but I know that, back in the day, there were they were like pioneers. I'm a Denver pioneer. You went out west to conquer the West. You didn't have any help. There was no military. You were on your own, and you had to figure things out. And so I'm a Denver pioneer. I'm a Pio all the way, and I always have that entrepreneurial spirit. But there are so many people that made a mark and left it, and then hopefully the people that they were working with were able to take what they've learned and then even improved it. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you need a foundation to build upon it and make sure that that building's still going to be standing, hundreds and hundreds of years from now. Even though retail, every 3 to 5 years, they refresh and all that stuff, but new prototypes, but it's amazing some of the really cool people that I met. Yesterday, I had a gentleman. I don't want to mention any names here, but anyway, he texted me in the afternoon. He said, "Hey, I'm in Atlanta on business. Hey, you want to catch some dinner if you're free?" And I was like honored. So I jumped the car, and then we talked for 3 hours last night at dinner. I looked at my watch. I'm like, "Hey, dude, it's almost 10 o'clock. They want to close here. We got to get out of here down at Phipps Plaza." And anyway, it was a great conversation, and we were just talking about family. We were talking about this and that, and uh, but those relationships, they're priceless. And I went,
Absolutely.
and yeah, umpteen million other people to call than just me, and I was looking, I was like, oh my God, who's this? And I was like, oh yeah. So and it was a text. It wasn't even a call, it was just a text, so
And
you,
it's funny, I represent manufacturers and like service companies, but I'll have competitors sometimes call me and say, "Terry, I'm looking for, I bid this job. I don't know where to get it. Do you have any idea where to get it?" And I'll know where to get it. And I'll give them a name of a company where to get it, and they'll just like, "I don't know how to repay you for this because we're really in a jam," And I say, you don't owe me anything. And that's what this business is all about. I may need something from him someday, and he's not going
yeah,
to forget that.
yeah.
So,
Mhm.
that's helping each other, there are good competitors out there. There's some crappy ones, but there are some really, really good competitors out there. And it's a small world, and we need to be respectful of our competitors and, try to help each other in this dog eat dog industry that we're in.
So if you're out there in commercial construction coffee talk and you're looking for a millwork or a visual merchandiser, kiosk, jack of all trades, someone's been around, knows his way around a retail store and what needs to be done. Terry, if someone wanted to reach out to you and bounce some questions off you or talk about the past and, or Tim Stevenson or whoever, Bernie Reese or whatever, how would someone reach out to you?
Well, they could reach out to me by calling me, Genesis Global. I don't have a website. I know I catch hell from you on that. I haven't never had a website in 54 years, but I think through you, I'm going to probably end up having a
No,
website.
we're going to make that happen. We're going to make that happen. I listen, you didn't have to say that. That's going to happen. We're going to change that. You got to put that in the repertoire,
Yeah,
It's
that's
like a
going to happen.
wrenching. It's wrenching, a new wrench for the car, the antique car in the toolbox. You need to have it.
We're going to have to make that happen.
Yeah.
You can reach me by contacting me at Eggert at genesisglobalinc.us, or call me on my office phone at 770-335-6498, or my cell at 77 or excuse me, that's my office, that's my cell number. My office number 770-975-7910, extension 203.
And you can reach out to Terry on LinkedIn too, right? You're on there. You just got to type his name.
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I want to just say this, that, currently Genesis Global, we are looking for a few more clients. We currently has 2 clients. We have KRG Enterprises, which is a Philadelphia-based company. They have 156,000 square feet facility in Philadelphia, and 80,000 square feet of manufacturing and 76,000 square feet of assembly. And they have warehousing capabilities. They have in-house design capabilities for new concepts and project management and design. They're just a phenomenal company. They do offshore in Asia and so forth. So they are a phenomenal company to partner with. It's a great group of people, wonderful to do business with. And I also represent a company called Dynamic Resources. This is going on my 8th year with them. They're an installation company, and I've had the pleasure of representing them for the 8 years. They are truly the first and only global retail company in the country. They have offices in New York, Atlanta, and Portland, Oregon. And they do field surveys and fixture and graphic installation, design services, construction, and ancillary project management and reporting services. They actually have completed over 12,000 projects per year throughout North America, Europe, Middle East, Russia, and Asia. So, I mean, I've got 2 dynamic clients.
That's Scott Bernstein at Dynamic.
Scott Bernstein. Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. I know them all. I just had to think about it. I was like, okay, I know it's Scott. What's his last name? Come on, your brain fart's got to go. And then it popped into me. Sorry to break it.
I would leave your listeners with one final thing. One positive thing is think outside the box. Never give up. Today is hard, tomorrow is worse, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel for those who are willing to work for it. I mean, it's not an easy business, but it's one that's worthwhile. If you have passion for this business, it's worth the investment. I'm living proof of that. It's provided a wealth for my family. I'm married. My wife and Heidi and I have been married for 27 years. I have 2 sons, one in the cabinet business, actually in the higher end kitchen business here in Georgia, up around where you're building your home. And then I have one that works for, he was with me for 13 years, but he left and he went to work for Book Construction. And he's doing he's a superintendent for Book Construction. So I'm really proud of my sons. They've done a great job. I've got 4 grandchildren, and but there's nothing better than grandchildren. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. They make your life complete. But I've really enjoyed being on your show. I hope I've I haven't talked too long, and hope you've learned something from about Terry Eggert. And if I can be of help to anyone out there that's listening, please call me. I'm here to help you.
Hey, listen, if you're out there, if you just want to talk, listen, Terry's an antique car guy too. We trade stuff, on email. But if you got anything you want to bounce off him, or if you have a project, or maybe you wanted to get his idea of, what they were doing back then, give this man a call. He's like a history museum. And, if the day you stop learning is the day you should start doing something else, as far as I'm concerned. So, there you go. Sell, email, LinkedIn, and you'll find them. If anyone wants to reach me, you can get me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. And listen, Terry and I were going back. I was like, hey, you should be on the podcast. He goes, I don't know. I had to talk him into it. Anyway,
You did.
I did, but look, I'm a content creator, so we live in we're data addicted. So if it's like it's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. So if you don't send me something, I can't look at it. Very tough to get in the magazine, but we've got all these social media channels. We post every day. We have millions of people hitting the website consuming content, every month, and we've just been on fire. And it could be, a new product release, a personnel announcement, a charity golf tournament you're doing. Let us, judge the book by its cover. Send it to me. Our TAT turnaround time, 24 to 48 hours. We send you the URL. You can share it. It's win-win. It's good for your SEO, which is your search engine optimization. That's how Google finds you. And, it's a win-win. So, send it to us because we love content. We're posting it all day long. And like I said, the Wild Wild Web, there's 8 billion people out there on the planet. They're all on the web. You might as well have a presence in some form or fashion in those little stores. You would be amazed at how many people look at that stuff. Every day I've been running 5 to 7 miles, and I'm doing an ebook at the end of the year, and I cool down at the pickleball court in my subdivision, and I talk about my day, and then I leave a positive thought. So. My little thought here that I left the other day, I thought was very apropos. I'm a business development sales guy, basically. But even though I changed the Xerox cartridge, I take the trash out. I mean, I do everything. I proof, I do everything. So, and I'm building the house right now too. I don't have my construction hat on, but I do. So, uh, as business development, they always see ABC, always be closing. I think, in life in general, whether it's business, personal, athletics, whatever you're doing, ABC means to me is always be consistent. And if you're
Amen.
consistent, the stats are in your favor, okay? Because if you're trying to market to 10 people, 2 people are always going to say yes. 2 people are always going to say no. You could give it to them for free and they wouldn't take it, but that other 6 in the middle, if you can close 2 out of 6, you're doing okay. If you close 4 out of 6, you're going over 500%. If you go 6 out of 6, you're crushing it. So always be consistent and be improving every day. And uh, you will see a difference in yourself down the road. If you have a data point where you start and where you finish, you can look back, you can see what you did, tweak it, and then go do it over again on another project. And you'll see how much better that you did it. So that's kind of my little thought of the day. ABC, always be consistent. Um, so hang on, Terry. Before we finish up, I got 3 things to say. If you're out there on the construction site, number 1, we want you to be safe. All right. We want you to get home, have dinner with your kids, your family, your pets, what have you, be able to get some REM sleep, get up and do it the next day. Number 2, it's still hot out there. And even when the cold weather comes in, the winter comes in, old man winter shows his face, you still got to stay liquefied. So when you get dehydrated, you get headaches, you get hurt. That's the athlete in me. But it happens on the job site too. So stay liquefied. If you're drinking water, put some electrolytes in your water bottle. You'll feel better, you'll sleep better, and you'll be able to get up and once again do it the next day. Finally, hit that like button. All right. We want to get the algorithms out there so someone can find this episode out on the web and hear Terry's story, because you're not going to meet many people like this. There are not many of them around. They've either retired or they've passed or whatever. Here's a classic guy. And remember what he did. He didn't have to stop in the middle of Akron on a rainy, cold, nasty day in northern Ohio But I think the car guy in him stopped because he saw a really cool looking car, and he's like, I gotta see what's going on here. Am I right?
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, hit the like button. You'll do us a favor, and listen, if you're on the show, you're gonna want me to say this about your event, your episode too. So anyway, Terry, awesome conversation. As we close out, any last thoughts?
Well, I have this on my business card, and it's how I truly feel. So I'll leave this as a final statement. Every day above ground is a great day.
Woohoo! Love it. Love it. Well, everybody out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. It's TGIF tomorrow. We're halfway through month 2 of Q3. And before you know, it's going to be the end of the month, Labor Day weekend. And then the fun begins, especially in retail, because everybody wants to get their stores built by Thanksgiving, because a lot of people make their money between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And before you know it, we're going to be ringing in 2025, and the election will be over, thank God. And, whatever happens, happens. But Terry, I'm honored to have you on the program, and we'll talk offline about the other things that we want to do with you. But say goodbye from North Georgia.
Hey, thanks for having me on your show. I've really enjoyed it. You talked me into this. I was really nervous about doing this, but you did a great job at talking me through. And probably in the next 90 days, I'm going to have a website.
Yeah, no, we get them done a lot quicker than that. So uh, anyway, listen, I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier, about 25 miles north of downtown ATL. And everybody, listen, have a great third TGIF, like I said, tomorrow and the weekend, and then get ready to go through your last 2 weeks of August, and then Labor Day weekend, and then get ready to finish strong with momentum the remainder of the year. So with that said, we will see you all next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Terry, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. And once again, thank you for your service. All right.
You're welcome.
All right. Cheers, everybody. We'll be in touch. See ya.